understand that adrenaline and noradrenaline stimulates the heart, the lungs, the breathing, the etc., etc., etc. Now, what about something like cancer? You get dozens of studies that say stress either increases your vulnerability to cancer, to developing cancer, or your response to cancer medication. Alright? Now, here is how it happens. You know already that the body has a well-established immune system to fight against anything that threatens it. It can be an infection, it can be a foreign body that you happen to swallow, yeah. It can be a stent that your cardiologist has put inside your heart, yes. In the eyes of your immune system, even that stent is a foreign body. Yeah. It can even be a kidney which has been transplanted. Where the body is concerned, it is a foreign body, which is why you get something known as transplant rejection. Yes. Has everyone heard this term, transplant rejection? Do you know anybody who has suffered this? Perhaps not. But you have at least heard of this. Why does it happen? Because when a kidney is transplanted or a liver is transplanted, the body's own immune system reacts and says, no, this is not one of us. I'm going to throw it out. It's not allowed in my place, my body. Okay. The immune system, now here comes the crux of the very frontier of medical science today. You must be knowing by now that every biological activity is basically a electrochemical activity. Yeah? Very small, infinitesimally small bursts of current created by biochemical reactions. Right? Now, if you are not familiar, please accept this as given. There are some of your colleagues who are nodding their heads because they know they have studied it in college. Yeah, good for you. Now, why I say this is the cutting edge of medical science. Your nerves, all kinds of nerves all over the body, release certain neurochemicals. I could name them, but the name is not very relevant. Take it for the time being that they are chemicals which actually carry the messages, which actually create the responses all over the body. Right? Whether it's a stress response or it's an anger response or it's a response of calmness, there are different chemicals which mediate is the word which they use, which carry out those requirements. Okay. Now, you know that the three most important organs that control the word organs is wrong, tissues that control and generate the immune system. Who can tell me any one of them? Not you two. The rest of them. None at all? Your chance. No? You? Never heard of the thymus gland? That's one. The other two is the spleen. Yes? Which side of the body is the spleen? What is there?
Stomach. Down the stomach.
Left or right?
Left.
Correct. What is there on the right?
Liver.
I know you know it. I wanted the others to. Okay. Right? Okay. So, the thymus glands. Where is the thymus placed? What is there? Your friends can't see it. No, it's not there. It's a little lower. It's a little lower. You know the airway passage that's inside the throat? As it comes below, it divides into two. Yes or no? The main biggest arterial pathways of air that to go into your lungs, right? Right? The thymus gland is placed just behind that. Just try and picture it in your mind. On the left side there is the heart. There are the two airways going to the two lungs, and just behind that is the thymus gland. Okay, spleen we've just discussed where it is. The third one is called the bursa, B-U-R-S-A, right? Now when we talked about arthritis, we talked about cartilages. Do you remember that? Yes? When we talked about, not all of you were here, but most of you were, we talked about the cartilages that soften the friction between the two long bones, for example, right? Now, over there is another tissue called the bursa, B-U-R-S-A. Now, there is a kind of immunity related cells called lymphocytes, which are called bursa lymphocytes, and the other main variety is called thymus lymphocytes. We've just discussed what the thymus is, right? Now, the nerve supply of the thymus glands and the spleen release the same neurochemicals that control that happen everywhere? Yes or no? Obviously, it's the same neurochemicals that are released all over the body. Let us say take a condition of stimulation, right? For example, you're taking a flight from here to Bangalore. There are various stress points that you have. You know, your check-in, your security check, your boarding call. Suddenly, in some airports, they don't give a boarding announcement at all. You're supposed to see the screen and spot your flight, or perch in front of the gate, and so on. If you've checked in your luggage, that might get lost, etc., etc., etc. Now, we talked about, now those worries also generate neurochemicals, obviously, right? Now, the same neurochemicals, when they are released all over the body, they have different kinds of effects. We have seen that, right? When the same neurochemicals are released in the thymus gland or in the spleen or in the bursa of the bones, they suppress the immunity. They suppress the immunity is a fact which is, I don't think I can go into details of the research which has proved this, but please take it from me. It has been established over and over and over again. Now what happens? Someone who is continuously facing that kind of stress, yeah, and the immunity is continuously suppressed, suddenly picks up some infection or the other. You know, it's a running nose today, it's a touch of food poisoning tomorrow, it's a low-grade fever the third day, etc., etc., etc. You know, this is also the explanation of what you used to see in the old Hindi movies 50 years ago about the old mother-in-law who's lost a son or a daughter and suddenly become bedridden. How does it happen? Here's how. Yes? You hear stories of 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds who get a mental shock and then never get up from bed again. How? I spoke about.
So how does that happen?
You see, if it's acute, it's probably psychosomatic. A great change or shock in the brain, but they can then result in paralysis, it can result in a variety of things. What is also common is that people tend to keep on falling sick when they have just had a shock. Right? There are people in my own family who have actually developed cancer after losing a close relative. Personal experience. Yes, cancer. Right? Now it can be argued that how can a mental shock result in cancer? No, it doesn't. But the capacity of the body to fight the early stages of a cancer goes down drastically if one is in a depressed mental state. And again, and that is how a cancer develops. That is how somebody who's lost the will to live is unable to fight cancer. You see? Now, we have now talked about, till now, about the immune system being depressed, right? Can it become hyperactive? In some cases, yes. Yes. Okay. Have you heard of the word autoimmune disease? You have. Okay. Think of what it says to you. How many of you know the story of how Indira Gandhi died? How?
She was killed by her own soldiers.
Yes, not her soldiers,
Sorry,
her bodyguards.
yeah.
Her bodyguards, right? So the very purpose of why those bodyguards were put there got reversed, and became a source of danger for her, right? You hear umpteen stories of rich people being robbed or elderly couples being robbed or murdered by what the police call an inside job. Have you heard this word? The inside job? Right. Something similar can happen within your bodies. The same immune system that if it is well modulated and well controlled, will protect you from infection. The amount of infection that each of us face in our daily life is enormous. It's far beyond what we can even imagine. Right? If we actually knew it, we would probably die of that knowledge alone. But the reason we don't, the reason we are all alive and generally functioning throughout life from the biological point of view is because of the immune system. Now what happens when the immune system becomes hyperactive? Let's go step by step. Yeah. You get osteoarthritis, you get allergies, you get eczema, you get some diseases like psoriasis, you even get something known as an irritable bowel syndrome. How many of you has heard this word, irritable bowel syndrome? No, not at all. There is a category of people who suffer from this disease who normally have to go to the toilet at very short notice. Right? If they don't go to the toilet, it can result in a lot of embarrassment, which you can well imagine what it is. A lot of studies have gone into what causes irritable bowel syndrome. Now, along with the urgency of going to the toilet and the frequency of going to the toilet, it also weakens the person because digestion is not proper, food is not absorbed correctly, appetite is low, etc., etc. This is again one of now widely believed to be an autoimmune system, and the main cause is a hyperactive immune system which, instead of protecting you and attacking outside infections, actually turns against the body itself. Right? Tell me two very common diseases that result from the autoimmune disorders. The most common. Yes. That's because I said arthritis. Of course.
Alzheimer's.
Yes, but not the most common in India. No. Bronchial asthma. Has no one in this room heard of bronchial asthma?